Well, I appear to be hopelessly in the grips of insomnia, and I do not feel like doing anything resembling clerical work. Like, it is the 13th. It will be the 2-year anniversary of my forced withdrawal from Xanax, and I was going to prepare a list of the crazy events that happened in those 2 years in this building. I was thinking, well, I could do that, but I really just don't have the belly for it right now, both literally and figuratively. But yeah, so this it's like 12:07 here, so this will count as my video for what should be tomorrow, if I can ever get to sleep. I've almost been awake. I'm 24 hours. So I woke up at 2:47 in the morning yesterday. So there's no reason for this. I took a milligram of Valium like I did before in hopes of going to sleep and waking up early. I actually had some quiet today, so I could have worked on my book, that thing that I'm almost finished and that I want to put up. That's a complete story out of a larger work. It'll be about 3 hours long and may help some people kill some time, or give them something to either be shocked, horrified, or amused by. But I didn't have the nerves for it because I had that appointment at 3 o'clock. Well, I missed the memo because the dude that made the appointment, he like reread what he wrote, and this seems kind of fishy to me. He said, oh, I'm sorry, I said Friday, I meant Tuesday. So he told me this about 9 or 10, and I think he said 9:02 in the morning. And I was kind of dozing in and out because I had just took the longest walk that I have ever taken since my broken toes. And I almost walked all the way toward the big road. And I'm like, you've already walked much further than you've walked. So every time I walk outside, I seem to get exponentially better at it. Which, if I could have those kind of gains in like weight gain, I would be like the Incredible Hulk right now, because I've only really taken about 10 walks outside. And the first time I was terrified, as I expressed on here, and I didn't walk that far, and then I just kept walking further and further and better and better, and I'm like, well, I should have been doing this shit all the time. Yeah, I didn't. It's different than walking inside, because walking inside you gotta turn around and go back and forth, and even the way I cleared out my living room where I could walk around in a circle, it's not a lot of room to somebody with a fairly large stride like me. So it's a different thing, and plus I'm walking on uneven ground, and concrete and a brick road and an asphalt parking lot, and not exactly pillows to land on. But so I did that, and I was kind of tired. And I woke up at 2:47 because I had a nightmare that I had cancer, and I was in a hospital. And so I was like kind of in and out, but I didn't really take any real naps. It's like doze and wake up, doze and wake up. I was just resting up from walking. And so there's really no reason for me to be awake, especially since, I'm violating my taper in order to get to sleep, and the Valium is having no effect on me whatsoever. And I think it's because that guy canceled my appointment, and it's the second time in a row he canceled the appointment, and then it's going to be on Tuesday, supposedly at 3 o'clock. And, that's my main concern, is getting out of this building before I totally lose my mind. And, as far as the coronavirus thing, getting It's like I figured. I did a little more research on it, and it's like, I didn't put out any misinformation on there. I did listen to an expert that disagreed with me about wearing gloves. But if seems to make sense to me, I don't care if he's an expert. If it's a droplet borne infection where people sneeze or cough or rub their noses and they got, infected things coming out of them in droplets, and then they put their hand on something, and then you put your hand on something that they touched, and they're infected, you know. But he said that doesn't matter; it's all airborne. I said, well, I'm in the clear if it's all airborne because I'm a hermit. So, as long as the aid worker that comes in here, and I only have one, the same person all the time. As long as she claims that she like scrubs herself down and she wears gloves when she works in here and stuff, and I keep my distance from her. But this expert said it was all airborne, so it doesn't matter. I give it a couple of days before I check the statistics in my county to see if the one case has become 10 cases or whatever. But I don't know if that had anything to do. I would be like worried about him coming here. He shouldn't be worried about coming to see me because I'm quarantined. He would be violating my quarantine by coming here. So I don't know what the deal is with that guy. Other than he has a very hectic schedule and he's dealing with mental health people that are always threatening to kill themselves and are very unstable. I believe I told you the story about the guy that went into the office and banged on the desk and said, I need you to call the FBI for me. Somebody's been stealing my mail. And the lady at the desk very calmly said, sir, I do not have the number to the FBI, so I cannot call them for you. And he's like, something's got to be done because somebody's been stealing my mail. And I'm looking around and I'm waiting for a security guy. And there's like, not only is there not any security people in there, but nobody in there, no 3 people in there can handle this guy. He's big, he's crazy, and he's angry. I'm looking around and like, there's just a bunch of very nervous people with emotional problems. Some of whom were almost like curled up in a fetal position in their chairs in fear from this guy. There's 2 separate waiting rooms, and he actually stormed over into the other waiting room and terrorized the other waiting room too, and then he came back in. Now, luckily, one of the fellow mental patients with myself must have had the delusion that he was a police officer or security guard because he stood up and he faced this big, huge, angry dude and said, sir, you're going to have to settle down now, or I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And he sounded just like a cop. And he convinced the guy that he had some kind of authority. And so his delusion matched up with the crazy guy's delusion, and the guy left. And everybody thanked him. And I'm like, looking at the guy, and I'm like, the guy's just a fellow patient, He did that very well. It's like he must have a delusion that he's a cop or an authority figure. While meanwhile, that guy has a delusion that somebody is stealing his mail, and he needs the FBI called, and that going into the Coleman Professional Services mental health place is the place to get that done. But that's all I could think about. I was like, the security in this place sucks. I'm surrounded by freaking Fruit Loops. Well, being one myself, I'm allowed to say that, like people of color are allowed to use the N-word with impunity. I'm allowed to say Fruit Loops because I happen to be one. And the whole room was full of crazy people that could like go off at any second, and there's no security in there. There's nobody in there with pepper spray canisters or taser guns or anybody in any, that at least knows some hand to hand, or it's just like, yeah, there's nothing anybody could do to stop that guy if he got violent. I mean, except for that guy had a delusion that he was an authority figure, and like I said, that's pretty much what he said. It's like, sir, if you don't settle down, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. and some and the guy just said, "Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get that upset." And then he just left on his own, and he ran him off that way by acting like a cop. Um, so I thought that was hilarious. Uh, but anyways, so he's dealing with. My point is, the guy that's supposed to help me out with the moving is he's dealing with people who think that they're cops when they're not, and think that people are stealing their mail, or think that dragons live in the cupboards, and so he's constantly getting calls. Like I said, I had an appointment with him, and he's like, "Oh man, this guy's threatening to kill himself. I gotta leave." And he was more or less annoyed by it, like that he had to leave in the middle of my appointment. And I was like, "Well, go save that guy's life then." And he just looked at me like I could tell he was on the tip of his tongue to say. It's like, "Oh, it's probably guy just wants attention." It's, yeah, that's the attitude that he had anyway. He didn't say nothing. He just left. He's like, "I'm sorry, I gotta go." Um, but anyways, that was very disappointing, and plus I had some anxiety before that because it's like the thing I want to do is move out of here. So the first place he takes me to, if it's like I said, if it has two things, my own entrance and exit, and a concrete reinforced soundproof type apartment, I'm taking it. I don't give a fuck about anything else about it. I'm taking it. First one, taking it, because I can't stand it here no longer. Yeah. But, when you got people like, you leave your window cracked open and people are reaching inside your house that live in your building and writing cryptic messages on pieces of paper and sliding them back into your window, it's time to go. It's time to find another place to live. When you got brontosauruses and dogs that get closed into cages and make horrible noises that sound like they're people in the movie Hostel, it's just time to go. It's just enough of this place. But so yesterday was a very weird day, and it's not over. I'm gonna post this in the morning, but really, yesterday isn't over for me. If you can follow that, it's just like this day won't end. I can't sleep. I'm wide awake. I don't have the nerves or the energy to do anything productive, but lay here and like stew in my own juices, and it's not good. I don't know what to do with myself, so that's why I'm on here now. And I make a video a day, let you know how I'm doing. And I haven't battled insomnia for quite some time. But like I said, I'm going on being awake for 24 hours. And yeah. Well, I had anxiety, and I took a blood pressure pill, and I felt like shit. Which sometimes blood pressure pills will make me feel like that. I'll feel just headachy and miserable from them. And, I was like, I'm going to go to sleep. I was like, the hell with this. The guy, I didn't find out sorry about that. I didn't find out the guys canceled that appointment until like 3 hours after I got the message, because I had my phone turned off, down all the way, so because I was planning on doing my audiobook, but then I got a case of the nerves, and I was like, nah, I don't want to mess with that today. I'll just, I don't want to stress myself out further. I'm just concentrate on this appointment, not knowing that the appointment was already canceled. So it's kind of ironic. Like, I'm turning off the phone so I can work on my audiobook, but then I get too nervous to work on my audiobook because I got an upcoming very important appointment that's already been canceled, if you could follow that. And kudos to you if you could. See, you're not doing that bad if you could follow that. So that, that in itself was kind of screwed up, waste of worry. Because if I would have just had my phone on. Yeah. That's a version of picking up a board and then stepping in the hole that the board was covering. You know, it's like I accidentally did some self-defeating behavior. Turned off the phone in order to read a book, but then was too stressed out by an appointment that was already canceled that I didn't hear about because I turned off the phone. That's pretty much me in a nutshell. So it's all good. Yeah, so I don't know when this is going to end, if I'm going to be up, how much longer I'm going to be up. Nothing is working. I think I might actually do that. Break out a piece of paper and start writing. Start working on my March 18th project. Where I'm just going to read off a list of events in a time frame. Though I've never been really good at time frames, I'm sure as fuck not going back and listening to all my long videos to get all those crazy events straight. I'll do the best I can. Especially it got jumbled last summer when I got got hooked up and involved in the PTSD crazy guy reaching in the window, writing cryptic messages and putting it back on the window on the back of my stamps guy. That's understandable. And then at the end of the summer, I had a heart episode, and that's understandable. That I could go back and look at that and try to keep all that craziness straight. I've talked about that where he was a severe alcoholic. He'd sit out on the porch with a bong and smoke in the open at 10 o'clock in the morning, or start drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning, or freak out and start beating up the house. Which I hate this place, but I'm not going to beat it up. I've talked about before, we actually did a forearm smash into a concrete pillar. I'll call it a concrete pillar, but really it's made out of bricks. And cracked his, was like running blood down his arm from it because he did an elbow smash into it, because punching the house and leaving, bloodying his knuckles and leaving the blood run down the side of the house wasn't enough. Hopefully he's much better now. He just had his second child. I know that because his wife was pregnant. Unless she had a miscarriage or lost the baby or something happened to it, I don't know, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't live here. I've already moved on. None of these people exist. They're just ghosts making noises. So, I don't keep track of the goings on in the building. But his wife was very pregnant last summer. So I heard him outside today with his daughter, but I did not hear a baby. I did not hear two children. I heard his toddler, who I almost watched him accidentally kill. So, yeah, just one of those things that, I don't know if I can remember all that stuff from the summer, but yeah, that was harrowing to me. The child was choking on something and started to turn colors and couldn't breathe, and he had to clear its passageway with his finger, and he was hammered, drunk. And I don't remember if he noticed it first or I noticed it first, but I watched it and was horrified, and I'm like, I could be watching a tragedy here and have to testify. My mind works like that ahead of time. I was like, I could have to testify to the police. Is this going to be a case of child neglect leading to, I don't even know what they would call it, neglect of a child leading to death, because kid couldn't breathe, but he managed to clear the airway, and I don't even remember what the kid was eating, but I didn't forget that. But stuff like that would happen. I was dealing with that kind of madness all summer. I won't be able to keep much of that straight. And that was over the period of May, June, July, and all. It was over a period of about 4 months that I was dealing with that dude on a, except for when he got thrown in jail a couple of times. And then, of course, I signed him out of jail that one time where he flipped off the cop. And the cop's like, you're going to jail, and slammed him down. That was funny. He slammed him down on the concrete on the porch, put the zip ties on him, and so what's the drunken guy's first concern? Don't hurt my dick. And I was like, I didn't laugh. I thought about it later, and I thought it was funny, but at the time I was like, this is too much drama. You know, and then there was cops talking to me, like asking me what his deal is, and I'm speaking up for him and stuff. And then later on, he gets drunk, and he's like, I don't give a fuck about you. And I said, well, who kept you out of jail? And he goes, what the fuck do I care about going to jail? I've been to jail like 4, 5, 6 times. You know, he's getting belligerent and drunk, you know. And like, I didn't talk about this in the last video, but apparently he doesn't drive, either because he doesn't have a license or he has enough sense to know that he should not have a car, being a bad alcoholic. But he's been contacting my niece, and my niece has been like driving in places, and she says she doesn't mind because it's better than driving her friends' places, because they do the pile-on thing where they're like, oh, while we're out, can we go here? Can we go there? Can we go there? In other words, they ask to go to one place, and she ends up having to take them up to 4 places, and it takes hours. So she likes the fact that when the PTSD guy asks, he just goes to the one place. So she appreciates that. He's like, I've never had any trouble with him. And I guess she was here and heard the dog freaking out firsthand when it gets put in its little carrier cage. And I said, that's got to sound worse up there. And she goes, yeah, I was up there, and you can even hear the dog clawing at the side of the box that it's trapped in. But yeah, she's like, I never had any trouble with him. And I said, well, he threatened me so many times that at least 2 times I said, just go ahead. If you feel the need, man, take a shot. Just don't hit me in the glasses, please. You can hit me in the face. You know, he's threatened me so many times. I remember one time I said to him, listen, his name's Chris. I said, listen, Chris, I faced death so many times. It's like, I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not going to be afraid of you. So you might as well get that out of your head. You know, and that one time he told me, he's like, no, I'm not going to hit you, man, because I got knockout power. You know, dude weighs like 135, maybe 140 pounds top, and I'm like, okay, I'm a cruiserweight, and you are what's 135 pounds? A junior welterweight? No, you ain't knocking me out, dude. That actually was the day that I had to get medieval with him and put him in an arm bar and hurt his arm and shit, because things got out of hand, and I had to let him know that, you know, as my dad used to say, you might get the sandwich, but I'm going to get a bite. It's like you might win a fight against me because my legs are fucked, but I'm going to hurt you. I know ways to hurt you, and I will not stop at doing them. And I had him in a helpless position and let him know, and let him feel how strong my upper body was, and let him know, you know, that I ain't no easy mark, you know, because he started getting belligerent with me. And then he started to get handsy and weird, you know, like latent, just weird. You can figure it out where I'm going with that. But it went from violent to a little too friendly. It's like, this is too much like scenes I've seen in prison movies. So what do they do in prison movies? If they don't have a shank, one guy has to assert his physical dominance over the other one. So we can establish, if we're going to act like animals, we've got to establish a pecking order here, and I have to be at the top of it. In other words, I had him in my house several times, and I would tell him, like, get the fuck out of my house, and he would listen. Or I'd be like, take it outside, and I'm like, you don't disrespect me in my house. So on some deep level, just the fact that I got him in that helpless position and got him in an arm bar and hurt his arm, stayed with him. And unfortunately, uh, I have a violent history and come from violence and violent people, so I know about these things a little too well. But anyways, I'm just chattering to be chattering. I'm just really killing time right now and breaking my rule because I can't sleep. I can't fucking help that. It's just, I don't, when you have insomnia, I don't know what I did, or I think it was what I didn't do. I didn't do enough mental activity and physical activity. It's like I should have lifted weights or done something instead of wait around for an appointment that never happened. And then after the appointment, I wasted some time watching pornography. That was my big mistake. I had a little bit of sex drive for some reason, and yeah. So why that's supposed to make you sleepy? I thought though, but yeah, that didn't work out for me. I'm not normal in any particular way. So even that's I thought you were supposed to like get sleepy from that. There's a hilarious Norm Macdonald clip where he about makes Meatloaf. If you know who that is, I don't know what the guy's real name was, but the younger people might know him from the movie Fight Club as Bitch Titty Bob. But he made that guy laugh so hard that that was funnier than the actual jokes that he was telling. But yeah, I should put that clip up there, or put that clip. That is a funny clip. But it's more funny to watch Meatloaf just about die from laughing than the actual material. Though the actual material is pretty good. But anyways, just rambling and being the old me. Though I had planned on making like just 10-minute quick updates on how my day went and what I had planned to do. But that your nature comes out. I'm a blabbermouth. That's my nature. So, yeah. As far as the coronavirus thing, I don't really know how to feel about that because I'm one of the people that could die from it. And like I said, I did a little more research on it, and mostly elderly people are among the 5,000 people that died from it worldwide. They are mostly elderly people, to the point where at first they thought it was like a disease that attacked the elderly in some way. But really it was just because another thing this guy who is a health expert was saying is like you can have it and not feel any symptoms for it and be a carrier for it. Or you can have it and it not have much, if any, effect on you. You can barely feel it. And then you can give it to somebody, they can get really sick or even die from it. So that's kind of like not cool because, if you can't even tell you're a carrier. And I also looked up, for my own curiosity, of course. I'm sure I'm one of millions of people that did this, but the actual flu last year killed over 34,000 people. I think 34,600 people worldwide. All of last year. So this corona thing is probably going to eclipse that number because after all it's only been around for how long now, and there's no vaccines for it, and there's no Tamiflu. There's nothing to even, I don't even know if they have anything to treat the symptoms while your immune system fights it. So another point that I was making is like this is going to be with us for a while. It's not going to burn out. It's like it's going to be an ongoing thing. I think he said 5 or 6 months minimum before they get a hold of it. And he said any hopes for an immediate vaccine is just fairy tale thinking. That kind of research takes time. So I'm going to give it a couple of days and check. I'm not going to be in contact with anybody. Just be my hermit living in a cave here. Be my cave bear self. So I'm not gonna. I'll give it 2 or 3 days before I have to interact with somebody from the outside world, and uh, check and see if there's more cases of it in my county than the one. So see how if it's spreading. The problem is, like the guy was pointing out, is like you don't know. There's people there could be people around carrying it that don't know they're carrying it. So you don't actually know because you don't necessarily get violently ill from it. Some people don't feel the effects of it. And I'm sure there's some people that are immune to it completely. So this guy was just like more or less pointing out the lack of knowledge involved with it. But he said they've had people tested positive that said, I just felt like a little bit off. Or like they go to their doctor and their doctor like does a test for it and they find out they have it and they might be going to the doctor for some other reason. So that's also not very comforting, because how are you supposed to know to quarantine yourself if you feel fine, or if you just feel a little bit tired, like you had a bad night's sleep the night before? But I think the main thing it presents with is, in most people, is a high fever and a cough is like the first two symptoms that you get with it, and then it develops into a respiratory thing. So, and as we know, old people die from pneumonia a lot and respiratory conditions. And so that explains why at first they thought this is like a disease of the elderly, is because it was having a greater impact on them than the young and healthy people. But we don't know enough about it, and the unknown is always scary. But I just look at the death tolls as opposed to the people that recovered from it. I actually did the math, though. I did the math on the 180,000 versus the 5,000 deaths, and it's like you have a 97.3 chance of surviving it. But that was off of the 180,000. That wasn't off of the recovered cases. Now, if you did the percentage off of the actual known recovered cases, because you don't know if that big number of all the reported cases, there might be some people that die from that. They're still fighting it. Some of those cases are still fighting it. They're not dead and they're not recovered. So, we don't know what's going to happen with them. But as far as comparing the 5,000 dead to the 80,000 people that had it and recovered, I mean, my math is not good. I would have to, you can figure that out. What percentage is 5,000 out of 80,000? So, there's just not enough information yet. It's happening too fast, and which is also alarming for us to really know, to even calculate stuff like that. But it was kind of a waste of time as far as like, I was like, well, we don't know. I did the math off of like just all the known cases of it, and then the deaths. It's like, well, you don't know the known cases of it. You don't know if those people are going to live or die, so that was pointless. But we know that 80,000 people recovered from it, and that 5,000 people died, and we know that most of the 5,000 people, if not all of them, were elderly or had compromised health already. So, that's why I used my example of my brother surviving the West Nile virus when that was a scare in our area. It's like that West Nile virus can kill you if you have compromised health or if you're old and weak. So, being old is already a form of compromised health. So, But he caught it, and he basically just felt like fatiguey and achy for like a month. So that was like the extent of it. I think he said it might have affected his appetite badly too, which he wanted to lose weight anyway. So um, it's kind of funny though that the CDC put up a mosquito trap to test the area for mosquitoes that might be carrying the West Nile virus, and he would walk by every day. He would walk by this mosquito catching contraption that scientists were using to test his neighborhood for West Nile virus, and they found that and that was always when I see. I grew up. He lives in my folks' house, so I grew up in that area, and that was always a notorious spot for like heavy populations of mosquitoes because there was a little pond there at the end of the road that we called the swamp, which wasn't very swampy at all, but that's just what we called it as kids, the swamp. But it was really just a little runoff pond. But it was, you just didn't want to be caught there in the dusk and at night because of the heavy mosquito population. And he would walk by that government put in mosquito testing device, like wondering what the hell is that about, and then ended up getting West Nile virus. I don't remember how many years ago that was, but it was a big deal around here. Um, I don't know. I don't want to kill all night just talking, especially since I don't feel particularly interesting. I just feel very tired and like in a weird state of mind as far as like I'm too awake to go to sleep, but I'm too tired to do anything useful or productive with my time. So I'm kind of like in that limbo state that you get in when you have, I was going to say amnesia instead of insomnia. So maybe that's a good sign I can get off here and go to sleep. My plans for tomorrow, I will probably wake up. It's already a Saturday, so it'll be Saturday when I post this, and it's Saturday now. It's very confusing when you have insomnia and you're dealing with these sort of issues. But anyways, I'm going to wake up late, and if I walk, I'll be walking late, and I got to give Norm Macdonald credit. Again, that's my favorite comedian. I understand I talk about him here and there. But two of my favorite people in the world is I discovered the Jordan Peterson guy. I jumped on that bandwagon like really late. And Norm Macdonald, both Canadians. And or originally from Canada. In Norm Macdonald's case, since he lives in the United States, but I don't think he's a United States citizen. But anyways, he was on stage, and it's on YouTube, doing a bit about the coronavirus and just talking about it. And he was like, that's a really good plan you guys had here, like packing all close together in a big crowd and coming out to see me. It's a good plan with that coronavirus thing running around. At least I'm up here on the stage, and if I see it coming, I can flee. But he's like the manager told me, just don't talk about that. People are coming here to forget about the coronavirus. And I'm like, how can I not talk about it if I'm thinking of it every second of every goddamn minute? So he just went ahead and talked about it, in a humorous way. So, first comedian to joke about things like that is usually Gilbert Gottfried, the first guy to make 9/11 jokes, the first guy to make tsunami jokes. And Norm Macdonald, I guess, will be the first guy to make pandemic jokes about this COVID-19 shit that we got to go through here. But mostly it's a case of the unknowns, because we don't know, you know. I know one thing. Uh, like I said, if there's like, if you start, I might do it anyway, but I ain't buying that shit about not. Guy, some expert guy said, don't bother with the latex gloves. It's like, no, no, no. I'm wearing latex gloves if I have to go into a public area, and I am not getting too close to people. You know, my aid worker cracked me up because she was like, yeah, I'm kind of worried about this because, you know, if I get sick, um, I'm gonna start missing work and I need the money. And I was like, yeah, I'm worried about it too because if I get sick, I'm gonna die. And she started laughing. And she got it. She was like, oh yeah, okay, well, you know. And then she was also thinking about people canceling on her, because they just want to quarantine themselves. And frankly, she's going from house to house to house in an area that has the virus. And you can carry it even though you don't feel sick. So it might make some sense for me. She's like one of disgustingly honest people. I'd just like give her $100 and be like, look, man, I'm going to just cancel all my, I forget the name of the company, but I'm just going to cancel my weekly appointments with you. But I know you're hurting for money. Just take this until we see where this coronavirus thing goes. Most people wouldn't think like that and just be like, no, ain't nobody coming in my house. But I got too much like empathy and sympathy for people. It gets me in trouble all the damn time. Oh, like I don't know, like worrying about that PTSD guy and getting involved with him and wrecking my whole summer last summer and ended up in a hospital in September of 2019. So yeah, that all stemmed from compassion and empathy for other human beings. So I don't know what lesson that can teach a person. Be a heartless bastard. Look out for number one and fuck working people. But I had this other aid worker, like they're not allowed to take any tips. They're not allowed to take anything. Even if you wanted to like give them like I don't know a rosary, just a present, they're not allowed to take it, let alone money. So as I said, probably during the summertime, I had this one aid worker that she had to have some pretty serious surgery done on her back, so I hadn't seen her again. But she was of a different personality set, so I would just like take a $10 bill and say that I think there's something wrong with the leg of my walker and just jam it underneath the leg of the walker. I was like, I think I dropped something outside the window, and I'd have like a crumpled up $5 bill. And then she'd say something about it, and I'm like, you make it really difficult to be sly about this kind of shit. Because she'd be like, oh, that's, thanks, appreciate the extra money. I was like, you're missing the whole point of me, like, balling a $5 bill up into a little ball as a tip and throwing it out the window, so she can unfold it or stashing it somewhere, because they don't get paid much. And thing I don't like is most of them have shitty lives and they feel the need to share them with me, And when did I get to be cute and cuddly? When did this happen? People used to be scared to death of me. Now that it's why people like puppies and cute little harmless things. Now I'm a cute little harmless thing because I'm a crippled up old man. So it's like, damn, I miss the days when I used to walk by and people would lock their car doors, or like they'd walk on the other side of the street, or I'd be like, hey, how you doing? And they wouldn't even make eye contact with me, man. Kind of long for days. Now it's like I'm safe. It has its advantages, like people are nicer to me and they hold doors for me and stuff, and but I don't want to hear about everybody's problems. you're supposed to be here like working for me. I'm not here to be your psychotherapist, you know. You're already getting paid. Uh, I might have to make you refund your money that you're getting paid to do my dishes if I have to hear about your tortured relationships. Um, or like that one woman actually telling me a horrific story of somebody's head getting smashed in a hydraulic press while I was drinking my morning coffee at 8:30 in the morning. And it was one of the worst stories I've ever heard in my life because her one brother's head got smashed and the other brother worked with him and walked in there and saw the results of that. So, you know, and this just happened within the year. And all I could think about was the brother that lived. And then I have brothers. And I have one brother I love. And I got one brother I'm estranged from, one brother that committed suicide, one brother that I love. But I thought about, like, what if I found... it was very easy to put myself in the place of the brother that lived, you know. I'd be in a mental hospital. I'm sitting there trying to drink my morning coffee, and you can't tell somebody to shut the fuck up if they're telling you, like, gut-wrenching deaths in the family. You know, but there is a time and place for that, and 8:30 in the morning is not the time, and my house is not the place, because we don't really know each other. I don't even know your last name. You know, and I am not a bartender. Um, yeah. So, but I found that with every aid worker that comes in here, we have a conversation, and then suddenly I'm playing therapist, and I'm hearing about heavy, serious, psychologically weighty crap coming out of their mouths and coming my way that I don't need to hear about. It's none of my business, and I don't need to be burdened with. And you know, like I said, I'm not sure at what point I got to be cute and cuddly. I don't know when this happened, but I would rather be ferocious like I was when I was younger and have people afraid of me, and have like the nickel throwing incident where I had the one kid hide behind the woman that called her to throw me out of the drive-through. Kevin, get this guy out of here. And then Kevin comes out, and he's bigger than me, but he sees me, and he stands behind her and says, "Can I help you, sir?" Because Kevin is working for minimum wage, and he's like, fuck this shit. This guy is crazy and scary looking, and I don't get paid enough. This is above what I'm getting paid for here to deal with this. This looks like a possible hospital situation. And drive-throughs, they don't really pay you good medical insurance, so you know. But yeah, different lifetime. You get older, you have like many lives, many things change, and I lived through a time where I was hyper creative, and I lived through a time where um, fairly perverted. I lived through a time where um, I was very angry and dangerous. I lived through a time where I was flat out crazy, insane, mental, and made no sense. And that went really good with my crazy and dangerous time too. You know, it's always a good mix, crazy and dangerous, and physically powerful. Um, and then I went through times where I had to adjust my whole personality due to personal betrayals in the last 3 years. And that's the thing about when somebody betrays you, is like you have to question yourself more than them, because you have to, you know, you're like you start questioning like your own morality and your own like, what did I do? You know, you start questioning yourself more than you're actually questioning the person's behavior. Now, it seems pretty cut and dried in the situations that I'm in, but at the same time, I'm thinking, well, like, you know, do I just like write these people off as dead? I haven't talked to this guy in like a year. I haven't talked to my own sister in like 2.5 years. Is this the way this has to be, or do I have to accept some kind of lie or some kind of fiction? You know, or do I have to keep a toxic relationship going just because. I've got an itchy elbow. I don't know what that's about. Is it the coronavirus? Oh no. Uh, yeah, but that's all you hear about. Can't escape it. That's why Norm Macdonald was like, that manager told me not to talk about it, but if I'm thinking about it for every second of every goddamn minute, I can't help but talk about it. So he just did like a song on YouTube, is 5 or 6 minute riff on it. And anyways, so yeah, you go through. There's many yous as you go through life. There's some of the people that I let's see, some of the versions of Steve that I was. I don't even know those people. I don't even understand those people. You know, they say people don't change, but your core personality doesn't change. But the rest of you sure as hell can change. Your attitudes about life can change. Your temperament can certainly change. Anybody that's suffered from benzo withdrawal will tell you that much, because I can't put up with shit anymore. I used to laugh at stuff that would make other people mad, because like I'm trying to think of a good example, but my foster brother would like fuck me over all the time. Then I would tell other people about it thinking it was funny, because I would just blow it off, you know, as a personality quirk, you know, that I would be generous with him, and then like he'd have like weed, and he wouldn't want to share his weed with me. I'm like, dude, I'm a lightweight. I can get high off a little tiny bit of weed. And he'd like, no, that's my weed. Can't have it. You know, I can't really, nothing's really springing to mind except for the cigarette incident where I was like, oh, he was hoarding cigarettes. I had $10 left. I told him I had $10 left in my name right now. I'm completely flat broke, but I don't want to bum cigarettes off you while I'm staying here, because it annoys him. I was like, I don't know why it annoys you, because I pay you like double for the cigarettes. He's like, it annoys me because I don't like to go out and buy more cigarettes. Because it makes him leave the house. It's like, if cigarettes are 20 cents a cigarette and I'm giving you 50 cents a cigarette, that seems like a pretty good deal to me. But he had a different take on it. He didn't like it. So I was like, well, I'll just buy a pack of cigarettes then, so we don't have no stupid arguments. So I go and buy a pack of cigarettes. He lets me buy a pack of cigarettes. And later on, when he runs out, he reaches underneath the couch he's laying on and pulls out a full pack of cigarettes. I was like, you know, I did call him on that, and I was like, you know, I just told you. It's funny when you call people out on bullshit and they just look at you. That's the response, is just to look at you like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I just did that. Sure. You have an accurate description, and you described that perfectly. I let you spend 6 of your last $10 on a pack of cigarettes when I was hiding one under the couch all the whole time. So, you know, but I would tell that stuff to my sister, who ended up betraying me and kicking me to the curb. And she used to get really mad about it. She said, man, that shit makes me want to go cuss him out, man. She couldn't believe that somebody would act that way. But I mean, like little incidents like that, you know. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, this is old school Steve, man. This is bordering on an hour. I have no idea how I'm going to get to sleep. I was thinking about like maybe whacking myself in the head with something heavy. I don't know if that would work. I'm not going to take any more benzos. I'm just going to have to go to sleep when I go to sleep. But this will count as my video in my supposedly short format. I've been averaging like 25 minutes to a half an hour, which is a long video for most people. But this will be my daily video. my daily devotions and my daily confessions um, for today, which is a Saturday. But since I've been awake since 2:47 on Friday, it still feels like Friday to me. And yeah, it's probably kind of fucked me up that the guy canceled that appointment, because I like I said, all I want to do is I want to have the keys in my hand. You know, I just want to have the keys in my hand and have that part of it over with. Sign a lease. If I have to sign a lease, you have to always sign some kind of paper. I want them keys. I want to know that I have someplace else to go. That's, I don't even have to jump out of here right away. Because there's logistics to work out. Like, I have to buy a bed. I have to get it sent to the new address. I have to be there to pick up said bed and assemble it. And I may just buy a box spring and a mattress and slam them up against the wall. And, this bed is like crazy high up off the ground to where my feet dangle like a midget on a bus, which we had a midget in our neighborhood. A little person, if you prefer that. But, that confuses me because there's just a bunch of kids and they're little people and their feet were hanging too. But, yeah, the neighborhood midget was on the bus with his feet hanging, and that's what I'm like off the edge of this bed, and I'm 6'1", so this bed's like way up off the ground. So, but I was thinking I could just buy like the mattress and the box springs, buy the bed part later, and that's all I need is to go there. That's all I got in here. I need a bed. I'll just go ahead and buy new pillows, and I can take a couple of the sheets out of here, and yeah, all I need is a bed and the stuff that goes with the bed and the internet, and I'm good to get the fuck out of here. And then, I can stay there and then commute back here and take out little things that I need, like personal things, personal items. I was thinking about just leaving the microwave here and buying a new one, because this place has had bed bugs and roaches. So why do I want to take a bunch of shit out of here anyway? But at the same time, you don't want to. I'm not. I am. What would you call myself? I am lower lower class. I'm not. I'm poor. I'm at the poverty level, so I don't want to go having to buy all new shit. But at the same time, I just want the fuck out of here, and I will buy all new shit and not care and be poor, because I got lots of experience at that. What I don't have a lot of experience at is being trapped inside and being an outdoorsman. That's especially painful. And living in a building. Well, I've had experience with living in a building with people that I hate. When I was growing up, I didn't really hate my father, but I feared him. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. But anyways, that's when, like I said, I don't need a lot of things. I don't need to take a lot of things out of here. And I don't need a lot of money. My hobbies do not take a lot of money. So, money is nice. I will never say anything bad against money. As the Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes, money is the solution to everything. And it actually says that. And if I had my Bible with me, I'd look it up. It's a version of that. Money is the answer to everything, something like that. Everybody likes to misquote money is the root of all evil, when really it's the desire for money is the root of all evil. Money is very useful and not evil in and of itself. The desire for money, greed, is what fucks up the world. Uh, and if you want to get philosophical about it, I was writing about it the other day. It's the same tenet that's in Buddhism, where desire comes from the self, and desire, or the self, is the root of all evil. In Buddhism, the self and its wants and desires. So it's actually parallels what's in the Bible about desire for money being the root of all evil. But it also says, and like I said, I'll look it up for you. I don't know my Bible as well as I used to. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it says money is the answer to everything. I think that's pretty much what it says. Anyways, it's about an hour. Hopefully that was entertaining or useful in some way. I don't know. It didn't help me none, really, because I feel just as awake as ever, and I don't know what to do with myself, and feel quite miserable. As far as, like I said, I'm in that insomnia twilight zone of like too tired and foggy-headed and miserable to do anything useful, and not tired enough to go to sleep. It's not a matter of my mind being restless either. And people like my brother-in-law will talk about, like, I can't shut my mind off, and I hear that from a lot of people. They can't shut their mind off, and that's why they can't sleep. Well, I got neuropathy and pain through like 70% of my body. That's what keeps me from sleeping. I'm pretty good at shutting my mind off and getting in a meditative state from years of practice. So that's not why I am awake. I have no idea why I'm awake. But anyways, I will see you on Sunday. Even though this feels like Friday to me, it's actually Saturday, and I will post this on Saturday. And, we'll see how this whole this is something that the world is sharing, this experience of this COVID-19, of the doubt and the fear and the concern over it. And another thing that my aid worker said is they were teaching polite techniques to get people to keep their distance. Like if somebody wants to hug you, or so you step back from them and you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" You make like almost a defensive gesture as you wave at them. And Norm Macdonald, I might as well put that link down there for when he's talking about the coronavirus. He's like, yeah, you go to these places and people are like wanting to bump fists and shake hands with you and all this, and I'm like, step the fuck back. It's like, what are you, crazy? So I guess everybody's just going to be like keeping their distance. There'll be a lot of people that are shouting at one another, "Hey, Bert, how you doing today?" Like, they're in the next yard mowing the grass or something, but they're like 15, 20 feet away, You got to raise your voice so they can understand you. And instead of like getting in that danger zone, it's serious when they start canceling sporting events, and the XFL is just trying to get off of the ground, and they've canceled. I just read where they canceled their season, and so yeah, this is a big deal. This is going to be a shared world experience. It's even reaching me in my little hovel here and affecting me, and I'm just like a guy living off by himself in a cave. It even has an effect on me. I got to worry about it. So I don't know what that's going to be like, if it's going to make people more paranoid and less nice to each other, or people are going to, adversity, sometimes it draws people together. Sometimes it pushes people apart. It will be interesting to see how this plays out on that level. Um, are people going to like draw together and feel some kind of, you know, we have a common enemy now. We can't see it, but it's a common enemy, and usually a common enemy, like I don't know, when the elves were fighting the dwarves and the goblins come in the Hobbit, and they were like suddenly put their differences aside to fight the goblins. Well, Ovid-19 is the goblins, so maybe people will stop fighting and arguing over stupid political garbage and band together and you know as a like a world society for once, because the world has a common enemy now. So if you look this up on the computer and you look up a map, Alaska, there's no cases in Alaska, and Greenland, that's about it. It's affected every other country, and some countries very heavily, like Italy, and I think my brother said Greece as well, where it's like everything's on lockdown. um, but yeah, this is not it, this is yeah, this is not a good time for this to happen for me, because I want to move to a different location and get out of my quarantine. I've been in quarantine for 18 months, and I finally got the money and the agent uh, to help me move, and they got this damn disease running around out there. So, sometimes you feel like, as my dad would love to say, you can't win for losing, because this is it's like, I understand that this is inconveniencing the entire world, and uh, people are dying and stuff, but I really want to get out of here. And like, for me to get out of here, I have to expose myself to a virus after being trapped in here and half insane, for like trapped in a room literally for 18 months, like a prison cell. And just now learning how to walk well enough to get outside. I only get outside for like 20 minutes or so because I can't walk that far. And I can't sit on the porch because I got to worry about running into the people in the building and get involved in their nonsense. And so, it's just, it's funny to me. It's like, I'm pretty sure God hates me so much that he is cursing the entire world with this coronavirus, just because he thinks it's funny that now that I can finally get out of this hellhole, there's a bug out there that I can't see, an invisible enemy to go along with all the visible ones, that's going to keep me locked up in here in quarantine. And that might be what this guy is doing, that keeps canceling the appointments. He's like, man, I don't want to go nowhere. He might be like a germaphobe. He's a pretty clean dude. He might be like a Howie Mandel type, but he's like, I ain't going to that guy's nasty apartment, and there's other people in that building. I don't know where they've been. So maybe that's why he canceled the last two appointments at the last minute, is over this virus. Maybe he'll cancel my third appointment in a row and put me off again on Tuesday. So yeah. Anyways, I'll put that link to a couple of Norm Macdonald things, because he's a personal hero and man crush of mine. So um, I don't feel very well. It's psychosomatic, though. So, okay, that's an hour and 10 minutes. That's plenty of time if you sat through all this. I have no idea why, but it passes the time, and it's better than me sitting here staring up at the ceiling from my point of view. So it's useful to me, and if it was useful to you in any way, that's a nice bonus. So I'll see you Sunday. And Sunday I'll check the local newspapers and the local news outlets here and find out if we have just the one case still, or they're predicting they're expecting actually an outbreak because the one case, in their words, came in contact with a large number of people. So, but anyways, good luck to y'all. See you later, and I hope you can sleep. Sleep, sleep in for me to make up for the sleep that I've been missing. Okay, if you're allowed to sleep in on a Saturday. A lot of people work on a Saturday, but don't sleep in if you have to work, unless you're just figure that life is more valuable than money, and you're worried and you think the coronavirus is out there to kill you, and therefore you don't want to go to your job. Then I guess you can sleep in and just tell your boss, oh, God, my head's burning up. I can't go to work today. And your boss will be like, okay, okay, stay home until you feel better. Maybe that'll be one of the benefits from this thing. It'll be real easy to call off at work. See, you always got to find that silver lining in the miasma cloud of whatever disease might be floating in the air. Spooky. It's like the movie The Happening with Mark Wahlberg, it's airborne pathogens, so you gotta be afraid of the wind. That's enough of me, for me, so goodbye.